Hi, Kyla. Nice to meet you. I'm Johanny. Do you mind having a seat for me?
Sure.
It's kind of cold outside, right?
No, I'm fine.
You're good? Okay, the first thing I want to go over with you is our confidentiality statement in this company. So basically, anything that you say won't leave these walls. Unless someone's in harm, yourself is in harm, or someone else is in harm. Or I get subpoena, the files are going to be open. Do you understand that?
Yep.
Any questions?
No, I think I got that.
Okay, do you mind signing that for me?
Sure.
You can have a read, take your time. No rush.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Do you mind telling me a little bit about yourself? I see that you go to school at Ryerson.
Yeah, I've recently enrolled. I'm currently living in residence, so it's my first time living away from,
Home?
well, I guess it's the word most people would use, but home is such a subjective thing. I mean, they recently told me that they've been lying to me basically my whole life.
Your parents? Your...
Yeah.
Oh.
And even that word, parents, how
Parents,
subjective.
Home. Okay. Um, and how does this make you feel that you're going through so much right now? Your first time in secondary school. That can be nervous-wracking, right? And then lying. What's going on?
I guess it's just a lot to deal with. I mean,
You're feeling frustrated?
yeah.
Stress?
Yeah.
Schoolwork on top of all that?
Yeah. It's like there's not enough hours in the day to think about everything.
You have a lot on your mind, I see.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here. This is open space that we can talk about anything and everything what you want and to get things off your mind. So you were living at a place before going to res, right?
Right.
What would you call this place? That's not, because I called it home, but what would you call it?
Well,
and sorry about that.
It was my residence. I mean, I don't remember ever living anywhere else. And I mean, they always provided very well. They're pretty high up there. I mean, he's a lawyer, so that provided pretty good income. And Mom would, well, again, that's a subjective word, but she did some part-time work because she didn't really need to have a large income of her own.
Okay. And for most of the part, how was your environment there? Was it? I know you said they provided for you financially, but how about emotionally?
Well, I always felt like they treated my sister differently from me.
Differently, like
in many ways.
The way you talk to her, the tone.
No, they talked to her in a similar way. In many ways, it did seem a lot alike. I mean, whenever a holiday came around, I got presents just like her, and especially out in public, it was never any different, but whenever we disagreed on something, she was right, and my point wasn't even heard.
Okay. So you felt like your sister was always before you?
Yeah.
In a way? In a certain way?
Yeah.
And your sister, do you and your sister have a good relationship? How was that?
Well, she died when I was 16,
Okay.
so...
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Like, most of the time I tried to tell myself it was because she was the baby of the family, so it was some sort of, like, you hear sometimes that the youngest child gets some kind of special treatment, and they kind of get their own way a bit more than the older children they put more pressure on them to succeed and get ahead than they do for
the older.
Yeah.
So you felt like you had way more responsibilities than your sister?
In some ways, I mean, if I she got pretty good grades too, but she did get a couple C's, and they were kind of like, don't worry too much about it. No one's good at everything, and you just have to pick a path that works for you. Whereas if I got a C, they were like, this is going to affect your future. Pathways are going to close down for you if you don't get good enough grades to be considered for everything.
So you would say they were more strict on you?
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. And your I wouldn't say parents, I would say the people that looked after you for this time period. How did they you mentioned they lied to you, right?
Yes.
And what type of way?
Well, as I was moving out, getting all my stuff together to head into the dorm to start school, they sat me down. They said they had to tell me something, and they told me that I wasn't always in their home, that another woman was pregnant with me, gave birth to me. She's my biological mom, and for a few weeks I lived in an adoption agency.
They adopted you? Yeah. Okay. And did they tell you why they didn't tell you any sooner? Maybe
in the rush of everything, they kind of, like, there's a lot of work and planning into moving, so they just kind of went back to work after they spilled the beans, so to say, and I started, they weren't watching me, so I started looking around, and I did manage to find my adoption paperwork. I don't think they know I took it, but I got it out of the house, went to my friend's house, I made copies, and I got those originals back right where I found them, and I don't think they know I have a copy of the paperwork.
You have a copy of the paperwork?
Yes.
So you have your biological mother's name and father's?
The thing is, the adoption process involves a certain amount of secrecy. I mean, maybe that's not the right word. Mm-hmm. They're trying to protect privacy, with this form.
Yes. Okay.
So they don't put their names. They put baby boy or baby girl, and then the last name from
Is it something that you would want to know in the future?
Right now, I'm not sure what to think.
It's
I mean, what were they thinking? What was the point in having me just to throw me away? But I wonder, like, how does this affect me? Like, how I am now, who I am, the person I am. How did that how did that come about, really?
So you're wondering about your identity and who you are as a person,
Yeah.
and what is this? How does this affect your story?
Yeah.
And so you're questioning yourself, right?
Yeah. And I'm also kind of worried because, I mean, they did a good job of hiding it. I always assumed that when I went to the doctor's office that my family history was in there. I mean, they put family medical history because there are certain conditions that come genetically. But with this discovery, obviously I have no family history for that. So I could have some genetic defect. I could be a carrier for something, or at risk for being a carrier, or at risk for having a carrier in the future, or someone in the future who has a genetic defect.
So you're worried about your health. There are tests out there that tells, like, some simple blood tests, tells you what your it's like a history, but it's using your blood. Tells you what you're prone to having, what you have to be careful. So it's very good to, like, take if that can resolve that. Did you know about those blood tests?
I have heard some about them, but I've also heard that it could potentially be a bad idea because once the information becomes public, if an employer hears that, say you're prone to getting cancer at a young age or something, they could potentially look away from hiring you because you're not as healthy potentially as someone else, and you could easily become a drain if you're, like, prone to getting cancer in your, I don't know, late 20s or something.
That's always confidential. Your health is always confidential. It's always between you and the doctor, and whoever you give permission to see. If you give someone permission, like a employer, to see your health records, then you're advised, right?
Would they have any idea that I took this test?
No, that's all confidential. You're the key holder to that door. Okay, so I hope that relieves you a little bit. But knowing is a very important part, because, like you said, identity, who you are, is very. I can see that's very important to you, and it's very. Would you say that who you are isn't who you thought you were, in some sort of way?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I still am the same person. I haven't suddenly flipped and become a totally different person in the way I act or anything. It's just, I always kind of thought that in many ways I was kind of like, and maybe kind of like some kind of weird outlier in the family. I mean, I know I've been telling you how hard all this has been on me, but the truth is, I've actually had struggles with depression at many points, so I wonder, was it this differential treatment? Could it have been because I come from a different family that I'm different? Was it just chance, some sort of random thing?
I'm glad that you see yourself as you're still the same person in a sort of way. And about the depression, what age would you say you started feeling this depression?
I would say pretty young. Like, I mean, I don't remember my real young childhood, but who does? I would say, like, I can clearly recall, like, around 8, that's when I first have clear memories. And
How did they make you feel?
Just, I guess I kind of always felt like the pariah in the family. I mean, I always kind of thought the people in my family were kind of looking at me weird, but I always told myself I was just being paranoid. But now that they've told me this, there's no way that anyone in my family, except the real young members, like my younger sister, couldn't have known that I was adopted. I'm sure they were all looking at me.
So you felt like an outcast?
Yeah.
Like you didn't belong? Have you told this to the people that... So you haven't been able to speak you to the people that raised you? Is it hard to talk to them right now? Because this is a big bomb they let on you.
How do you start talking to someone who kept all this from you? Like, and why was I considered this pariah? Like, is it just because I'm not their blood? Or would I have been thought of differently had they not had my sister? Because they have sworn up and down that she is their biological daughter, that my mom was pregnant, she gave birth, and they're the biological parents. So I wonder, did they just adopt me because they thought they couldn't have kids, and then they found out she was pregnant, and they just didn't want to be the bad people who put the adopted baby back up for adoption? Because she's not that much younger than me. I figured it out. I thought it through. Looked at our birthdays, because that was on my adoption records, my birthday, and she must have got pregnant like 2 months after I was adopted, right? So
So you're feeling like they wanted you because they couldn't have someone of their blood?
yeah, I think
They
that's
thought.
what they thought.
So you have a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
And we can go giving ideas. This is why, this is my... But those people that really know the answers to all those questions, even if you don't want to, like, right now, do you want to hear the answers to questions? Or you're just, like, asking yourself a bunch of questions? Or are you ready to know the answers to those questions? Those are 2 major steps.
I don't know. I mean, there's a tug of war, like, if I went and talked to them, would they tell me any more, or was telling me their way of saying, well, now that you're leaving the house, we may as well tell you goodbye? As for my biological parents, do they want to hear from some baby that...
Are you curious about yourself? Like, are you curious
Definitely.
for yourself? So I would advise you to ask those questions when you're ready for yourself. Be selfish, right? And if you want to know about your biological parents, ask those questions for yourself. You're 20, right?
Yes.
20 years. You still have your whole life ahead of you, but 20 years is a long time too. And the people who can really answer those questions are the ones that adopted you, right? But that's a big step that we don't have to take right now, right? Because we're just processing a big bomb, right?
Plus, they don't have all the information, I doubt. I mean, like I said, if I really was adopted at a few weeks old, it's likely they never knew who my parents were themselves. I mean, I have heard that there were, like, more open adoption cases, especially more modernly, but those are kind of, I think when that happens, they find that, like, the pregnant woman finds who she believes to be appropriate parents while she's pregnant. So in that case, they would know more.
But do you have questions? I've heard you mention the questions about, like, why they adopted you.
Yeah.
How they adopted you. Those questions that you have, they can answer those. But maybe not about your biological parent. Maybe we would have to do some research, and we can totally help you with that. We can find research, we can find whoever we need to talk to get answers, right? But that's down the road, right? We're just starting up. And your sister passed away when you were 16 and she was 15?
Yeah, she would have just been 15.
15? How was that impact on the environment?
My parents were just, again, there's that word. Anyway.
How about yourself?
They were a wreck.
Because you lost a big part of your life too.
Well, at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of me feeling anything because, like I said, they were a wreck. They didn't really want to do much. They kind of just did what they had to do, you know. They made themselves food, but I had to take on it a whole bunch. I had to making my own food's no big deal. I mean, I could make myself a sandwich or whatever, but when you're in high school and everyone's, like, when you're in high school, especially, like I said, I was from a well-off family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people that age aren't doing a whole lot, if you know what I mean, right? Like, when she died, I had to take on everything. I did the laundry, I did the dishes,
So you took up a load.
Yes.
Yeah. Seeing them being in Iraq, how did it make you feel? You couldn't feel? You didn't let emotions go?
It's not that I couldn't feel. When you have a whole bunch of stuff to do, there's simply no time for that.
So you feel like you didn't get a chance to mourn for your sister?
Not at the time.
No. Okay. But later on you did?
Yes, I mean, people go through many things. Not to sound awful or anything, but they're hardly the first people to ever lose a child. So at some point you start showering and brushing your teeth and going to work and everything.
Okay. How about yourself, though?
Well, once I started...
You took the responsibility that they had, right?
Yeah.
And did you feel like you overworked yourself?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you couldn't connect two things together? Like, you couldn't connect your feelings with you couldn't connect with your feelings at the moment because you were too busy taking care of the household, doing things that you might have, at that time, being a teenager, shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Right? 15, 16. Okay. So you guys were like a year apart.
Yeah.
So were you close with her growing up?
Well, like I said, she was kind of given the free pass to not be absolutely perfect, and whenever we disagreed, I wasn't even heard, so I got the feeling that she kind of felt a bit high and mighty, but I mean, it's easier to talk to someone pretty much your own age sometimes than like parents or other older people.
Okay. Would you have confided in her as a friend, or?
She did with me. I mean, I would, those are the things my parents ingrained, responsibility, dependability, do right by others, right? Not that they let her run wild exactly, but, like, she would confide in me, but I didn't really confide in her. I mean, it's hard to confide in someone who's kind of held above your head.
Okay. And who would you confide in this time, at this moment?
Tracy?
Tracy? Tracy, your friend?
Yeah.
Okay. Still a friend?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Tell me about your relationship with Tracy.
Well, we first met back in grade 10, so it's been a few years since we met. We were both in the same chemistry class. We just started talking. I mean, she also kind of didn't fit in exactly. I mean, she wasn't the most talkative person, so sometimes less talkative people just kind of, blend into the background.
I'm hearing you say that you felt like you didn't fit in at home or at school?
No, I didn't really.
Or Tracy just, No? Okay. And Tracy was kind of alike?
Yeah.
Yeah? You confided in her. Okay. Did she know what was going on at home?
Yeah, I didn't feel any need to hide anything from Tracy. I mean,
Okay.
I wasn't ashamed of what went on in my home, and we were equals on par,
Mm-hmm. And going back to the whole support system that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you mind drawing me a little graph of who would you say is in your support system?
Okay.
Share.
Well, there's me, of course.
Yes.
Tracy, like I said. Then Tracy recently met Allison. That's her girlfriend.
You're friends with Allison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Allison.
That's good. That's good.
Then there's also Jazz. She lives nearby, till I started going to Ryerson. She goes to a different university, so we don't talk as much as we used to, but
She's still in your support group, yeah? Okay. You have some great people.
Yeah.
in your support group, especially yourself, right? And I'm hoping that I would be on our list one day. um, how was it? So she used to live by, close by your residence.
We lived on the same street.
So did you see her often?
Yeah.
How did that go from not seeing her that much?
Well, we're both
in
university, right? We're in different universities, so.
Do you miss it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And how often would you say you see Tracy?
I see her pretty frequently, like a couple of times a week is when we really talk, but, I mean, everything's, going so fast.
Yeah. Do you mind if I have this back? Okay. Thank you. Have your what are we going to, we should come up with a name.
Okay.
To call the people that raised you. People that raised you?
Yeah.
Okay. Have they tried reaching out to you lately? How's that going?
Well, I have gotten a couple messages, but I was always in class when I got those messages, so I mean, I listened to them, and they were just saying, "Oh, I guess we missed you when we called." But that was pretty much it. Didn't even say like call back or anything. And like before they told me about this, I did tell them a bit about my schedule. So I wonder, do they remember that I'm in class when they call, or like is it deliberate, just leaving messages on my answering machine?
So you're wondering if they kept that knowledge of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that relationship with them, is it something that later on, right now, you're feeling really, really upset, right? What would you say that relationship can look like in 10 years, 5 years? However long you need.
I don't know. I mean,
the future is always like a guessing game.
It's hard to say. Like,
what would you like it to look like?
I would like to start feeling less angry. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I drew 4 people, and one of them is sitting right here, so that's a pretty scant thing. I mean, I would like to be able to reconnect with them and everyone else in that family, but it can't just be me. Like, I just can't do that. I don't see myself being able to just reach out and for them to not like be reaching back. Like, I can only go so far. I can hold out my hand and say, come over here, but I can't force them back.
Mm-hmm.
Plus,
are you ready?
I think we would have to talk about my sister. I mean, we would have to be open about how we were treated differently. Like, they would have to explain themselves for how they thought that was okay. And I would have to believe them when they apologize. And they'd also have to explain why it all fell on me when she was gone. And I would also have to believe that they're not, like, I have to wonder, is the reason they're making these calls, is the reason that they're just not entirely sure what to say? Like I said, it was hard when she died, and I have to wonder, like, am I just the replacement now?
Okay. So I'm hearing so many questions, right? Running through your head. So many questions that you want answers to, right? And you also want apologies. Meaningful ones, right? And that's a completely, more things to want, right? It is. And that when they reach out to you and you listen to those voicemail, what type of feelings do you get?
Bafflement about why they would just say, "Oh, we must have missed you." Like, who leaves a message like that? Like, I mean, I guess I didn't really need to leave their name. I know I can recognize their voices, but, like, are they trying to get me to decode some kind of bizarre code?
Do you feel like they're trying to ignore the problem, ignore it, and just act like nothing happened?
Maybe, though they're doing it in a strange manner.
Okay. How would you reach out to you?
Well,
Take a moment.
like, obviously I don't stay on campus the entire time. I mean, I have to go to class and I have to get all my work done, so I am there a significant amount of time, but I mean, groceries don't suddenly appear for me and things like that. I do have to leave campus at some points. Plus, I mean, sure, I live there technically, but it's still a school. It's where I'm getting my education, and you'll go nuts if you just stare at that place all the time. So, I do leave to, do necessary things. Like I said, I do have to put the groceries in the fridge. I still have, dental appointments and stuff like that. I prefer they not show up when I have an appointment, though. That'd be a bit, seriously, I can't have a talk right now. But, I'm pretty sure they could probably figure it out. I mean, I'm going to main malls because I hop on the bus to get there, and
So
they know my food preferences and stuff. So I think they would be able to make accurate guesses about when I would be there and stuff like that. I mean, I get that perhaps it is asking a lot at this moment because, I mean, who wants to show up at a place when you don't know for sure someone's going to be there, or they could be at the opposite end of the store and just not see you and look like some kind of weirdo loitering outside a store. But at this point, even if they did leave a message and say, Saturday we want to come over there and talk, we'll be there at 2, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be there. I would have taken off to do whatever.
Are you saying that you want them to physically try?
It's just, I don't want any more bizarre messages on my answering machine. They're just weird. And I feel like I'm supposed to magically make sense out of this bizarre thing. Plus, it's so easy to just, send an email or something and not put any thought into it. I don't want them to be distancing themselves from it anymore. They told me and they have to come up. I want them to confront the thing, and I want to be able to see if they mean what they say. I mean, it's so much easier to lie when you're hiding behind a screen or you're just hearing someone's voice.
You want, yeah, okay. Yeah. You want them there physically, so to show you effort, right?
Yeah.
At least an effort. Would you ever be comfortable with telling them that? Or are you just...
I'm not sure how to ask that. I mean,
Ask
would
them.
you know how to ask that? I mean, what kind of bizarre thing is that? I'd like you to loiter outside a store in hopes that I show up there.
Oh, there's...
I mean, I get that they could come to my dorm or something when I don't have class. I mean, I don't do my group work there or anything, but I don't want to be having a screaming match or some sort of, I don't know, bawling in the corner crying thing in front of the whole school.
You do what you're comfortable with, okay? You asked me how I would ask that, right?
It was a rhetorical question more.
Okay. Yeah. Question. I don't know how I would ask that. This is new to you, right? You haven't been through an experience like this, right? Before.
You can only be told once that you've been adopted.
Yes. And it's... Wow. And let's take it back. What if they did tell you you were adopted when you were, let's just say, 6, 7, a young age? How would that help?
Well, I'm not sure I would have fully understood, but I would have felt, I don't know, trusted, maybe. I would have felt that I could trust them to tell me the truth, to feel like I had the opportunity to start thinking about these things in my own time. Like, probably at that young age, I would have been too freaked out by the whole thing to really think about my biological parents or what that means exactly, or to think about looking for them. But once I got into like high school and stuff, I think I would have been ready to look for them, and I didn't have that opportunity because why look for someone you don't know exists, right? I think so. It would have been maybe harder in some ways. I mean, had they treated us the same, what with the grades thing I mentioned and hearing my side and fairly choosing who's right or wrong, or perhaps choosing we were being, I don't know, ridiculous. I mean, there's always going to be sibling rivalry, right? And, like, had they treated us the same, I think, like, as sisters, we could have handled it, maybe. Or maybe it would have been easier for me. I mean, like I said, she is the baby. But, as it stood, with the treatment being different, I think maybe she would have felt like even more above me because she's the real daughter and I don't know. I wonder would would they've started treating us more similarly had we known? Because like I said, I blamed it on other things. I interpreted it the way I could with my knowledge, but had we known I was adopted and they'd been treating us differently, I guess we would have always thought it was because I was adopted and she was the real daughter, and so I wonder, would that have put more pressure on them to treat us more equally?
There's a lot of what ifs, right? You picked up on something, right? You picked up that they weren't treating you equally or the same.
Yeah.
Without even realizing, right? At first.
Yeah.
And then, do you feel like it's like a puzzle you're putting all together that's like pieces are missing, some pieces aren't still there?
I suppose you could use that analogy.
Yeah. There are support groups out there that that people go to. Maybe not the same story as you, but alike, similar, and they just talk about their feelings. Would you be open to that? You can, at the first time, you can like just sit in the back and just watch and hear and listen.
It might be good to hear some ideas on how to handle it, like especially if there were others who didn't know for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a big secret that the people that raised you hold back from you. And through our sit down talk, I've realized that you felt like that was something you needed to know. That was your privilege to know, right?
Yeah.
And since you didn't get that, it affected you even more than it would have.
Yeah.
In some sort of way.
Yeah.
Right? I want to do the case notes with you.
Okay.
So case notes are basically, I write down what we talked about, and I want you to know everything I write down so we're on the same page, and I write down the key points, what we talked about, how you're feeling, what we want to do next as a team.
Okay.
What would you want to do next?
Well, it might be good to go get to that group
home?
Yeah.
Not group home, but the group support. Sorry about that. Group support. That's a step forward. Definitely. You being here today is a big step. You letting all this frustration out, all this confusion, all this, it's very big. And I just want you to know that you're strong. If that's any help. So what would you say the key points of this interview were? Support. We found your support system.
Yeah.
Definitely the support group that we want to do. Are you okay coming back here next week and talking more? Or maybe? I'm going to refer you to the support group. I'm going to email you everything. I'm going to email them. Make sure we got our times and the dates clear. So I can email you, because they have different dates and different times. You can go to one or two. So in a week.
Okay.
I know you're in school, you're busy, that's why I want to email you a bunch of dates and a bunch of times so you can at least make it to one.
Okay.
And maybe our next talk, we can talk about how that went and how that made you feel and how you can, maybe next time if you do go to one, if you decide to keep going, you can talk. If you don't talk, or if you did talk, how did it feel telling people about your story? How did it feel? How did it feel you telling me?
I guess it helped with kind of making sense of everything. I mean, it was just so much, and trying to have a clear thought was difficult.
I just wrote down making sense of everything as one of our key points. Because I feel that that's very important to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you want to work towards.
Yeah.
Right? And identity in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a pleasure getting to know you. I'm glad you came. And I'll email you with all the details. I'll email you with my details, everything, okay?